So today we're going to talk about what's going on in e-commerce this year, 2025. What's working, what's not working. There's a lot of changes that have happened over the last 6 months, and so how are brands adapting? What are they doing to stay ahead of the curve and not get left behind? Today I am joined by Proxima CEO Alex Song. Alex, thank you for being here today. I know we've chatted a few times in the past, but for those who don't know you and your background, we'd love a quick 30 seconds on what you've been up to and what you're currently working on.
Thanks, Ash. Always a pleasure to be on and spend time with you. I'm Alex Song, the founder and CEO of Proxima. We are an AI data intelligence platform that helps marketers improve performance on digital channels. I think most recently where we've spent time that's gone well is really expanding beyond the walled gardens in terms of data intelligence. I think that obviously e-commerce is heavily dependent on Meta as well as Google and TikTok. But for brands that are getting to that next stage of growth, I think they have to find other ways to build brand awareness as well as performance beyond the walled gardens. And I think an area that we've seen a lot of promise is actually within CTV. CTV, I think, is becoming a smarter and more effective channel in a very meaningful way. And I think for the brands that are able to leverage that successfully, I think there's actually a lot of great amplifying halo effects that then improve their performance metrics on some of the direct response channels like the walled gardens themselves. So that's definitely an area that I think is going to help improve performance as businesses are scaling.
Yeah,
This
no,
is
I agree.
particularly important if you have a retail presence, right? Because that ultimately just expands further into a audience or a target segment that is not necessarily scrolling through TikTok and IG the same way that maybe your original early adopting clients were.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think where Meta is, obviously there's been a lot of shifts to the algorithm, the platform. Um, and usually when that happens, the platform is volatile and it's tough to kind of sustain growth there. And so by looking at some of these other channels, right, like connected TV, linear TV, a lot of these channels have been coming up in conversation a lot more recently, as well as like TikTok Shop, right? And I think the reason why these channels are doing super well is because it unlocks this this growth factor for the brands, like this new awareness level, these this getting into this like top of funnel audience is like the number one goal that any brand should have. And if Meta's not doing that, how are you going to use these channels to actually get in front of net new eyeballs? And I think the easiest way to do this is, all right, get up on TikTok Shop, get a commercial up and running on connected TV and linear, and even like working with influencers, right? Influencer game is still hotter than ever. You can see it on TikTok, and so whatever you can do to generate net new eyeballs for the brand, I think that's where brands can survive and continue to grow. Um, Alex, I'd love to get into some of the macro trends that you guys are seeing within your clients. Obviously, there's been a lot of talks around tariffs. There's a lot of talks around platform changes and just in general consumer spending being a lot lower than it was last year and the recent years prior. What are your thoughts there? What's going on with like economic uncertainty and how are you guys thinking about it?
It's a scary time out there, right? I think that a lot of brands are feeling the headwinds coming from, in the last few months, even just the tariffs, the uncertainty around what your cost of goods sold is going to be, what that means for your profitability, and then naturally what that means for your cash flow. Cash flow, as we all know, is your lifeblood. And I think being able to get a more certain outlook and plan better, especially when as an e-commerce business, you're running very tight. It's tight margins, it's tight working capital cycles. Getting as much predictability right now is really valuable. I would honestly, people say cash flow is king. I would say predictability right now is the crown jewel, right? Everyone's going for. I think where that plays into the marketing ecosystem, it's trying to find the most proven ROI that you can get and really bank on, right? And I think that's an area recently that's actually made retail much more valuable than I would say ever before, especially if you have a good brand presence in retail stores and you've already been there a couple years, so you have consistent reorder models that you can predict, and you can understand kind of where the margin's going to be, which is very, very clear. That's very helpful, right? Because that gives you a better sense of your cash flow management and expectations. And that predictive margin is in some ways much better than even a potentially better margin on Meta, because it's D2C, because one day it's great, the next day it's shit, and you're like, what am I actually calibrating around? So I think that's brought to light a lot of retailers as well as kind of wholesale purchase opportunities. Again, much harder to execute on because it takes more time. It's a longer sales cycle. You can't just flip on your website and suddenly start printing money. But wow, is it valuable in the current state if you have had that kind of retail presence established and in a healthy place. I think in terms of other volatility that I see, the platforms, right, are just, 1 month they're amazing, the next month they're really tough. And especially now going into the summer months, I know Avi as a health and wellness brand, it's going to be a bit more challenging to get to the CAC and the ROAS targets that you were hoping would carry forward from Q1, Q2, right? Because again, as summer comes, people are out there drinking, having fun, being out, doing whatever they're doing, barbecues, etc., just less on their phones, more in the outdoors, and less likely to purchase as easily as you would, and more, especially for health and wellness, in like that kind of new you period. So getting ahead of this tough cycle, right, as we go through Q3, is a challenge. And then I think a lot of the smart brands that I'm speaking with are really prepping for what they hope will be a really solid Q4, right? If the economy holds up, which right now, despite all the craziness of the wars and the terrible news and the tragedies that are happening, the market's still holding, right? Consumption is somehow still there. We're in for a pretty solid Q4, and I think we as the ecom ecosystem need to be grateful for that and really appreciate it. We can get through Q4 this year and actually hold to some really great performance metrics, and ideally even some year-over-year growth, or at least sustaining the growth that we saw last year in 2024. We should all be very, very grateful and feeling like we're in a good place.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I would say at least for us this year, we have seen less, I guess, not less, but I would say more volatility in some of these platforms that we typically are relying on, right? Like Meta, and I'm seeing consistency in our retail efforts. I'm seeing consistency on our Amazon efforts. So when people are like, "Oh, it's Meta," like obviously there's a problem with the platform or there's less demand, this and that. Like I don't necessarily buy it. I do think I do think that there is fundamentally an issue with the platform at the moment. It's not, obviously there was a massive algorithm change, and so I think just diversifying away from this channel is probably a smart move, right? Like we're lucky enough to be in retail. We're lucky enough to be in like 20,000 doors nationwide. Amazon, kind of just humming along. TikTok Shop, man. I mean, this is something that only a few brands have really cracked, and it's something that we're trying to get into now. And so, I'd love to kind of give you a breakdown of what we're doing there, just to see
Please.
your thoughts, and also see how other brands are tackling this. But it seems like TikTok Shop is that channel that people just want to break even on and use it for this like massive awareness play. Right? I mean, look at brands like Golly and Mary Ruth, like they're bleeding money, right, on the platform. Or at least Golly is. I know Mary Ruth is doing a great job over there, but Golly is like bleeding cash on that platform. You know, they have an insane creator community. They're offering insane incentives, right? So commission on sales plus gifts and trips and Rolexes and cars, and if you hit certain thresholds, it's it's insane to see what they're doing. But what happens is that if you can generate enough views and impressions on that platform, it becomes this massive awareness play, and they're willing to take the L on that platform if it can help with this halo effect across their Amazon efforts, their retail efforts, and that's what's crushing right now, right? I think the brands that can crush on TikTok are the ones that are surviving and the ones that are getting this like halo effect across the board. So that's what we're working on, right? Quite literally just launched a Discord group this week. We're funneling all of our creators in there right now. We've set up some campaigns where certain GMV targets are hit. We're giving away prizes. I spent the last couple of weeks working out our numbers and understanding, okay, well, how much commission can we generate, or how much commission can we give away? What are some of the prizes that we can also give away, right? We're doing, AirPod Maxes. We're doing Dyson hair dryers. We're doing cash prizes. We're doing Rolexes. We're doing vacations.
And wow, I gotta get up in this group, huh?
You gotta get in this group, and then obviously we're if you hit enough GMV, we're toying with the idea of giving away a car. So I think if you can make the platform work, get people excited about the brand, get the product out there, and just get people consistently talking about you, I think everything else becomes way easier. And I think TikTok Shop is the way to do that. But I'm very curious what you think is going to happen, because I know that they're in talks to sell to some U.S. entity. I don't know what's going to happen to the platform after that.
I think TikTok keeps their current structure, but then they force all the US-based users to download a new app that is governed by a US-based entity. So it's really more about data management on the TikTok side, that the data stays clean and monitored and secured on US soil. So I think you're going to start to, I hope that it doesn't screw up any of the marketing performance that you're building out, but there will be this new divide where US-based TikTok subscribers will have to download a separate app, and that at some point they're going to block the other app in the US once they have the transition done. I think that's going to happen over the rest of this year, so we still have time. Look, it's interesting what you say about this TikTok strategy. I think there's super valuable opportunity and awareness building on TikTok right now. It's just such a great discovery platform, right? And especially if you can get all of your influencers, creators pushing content at the same time in an aggressive way, because you're creating the incentive structure that gets them really excited to do so. I mean, you can flood people's algorithms, right, in a really quick manner. So I think that's very smart. And Ash, if I want to bet on anyone in the ecosystem to figure out how to unlock value in a new platform, it would be you. So I'm confident you guys are going to get there. I'm curious though, how are you feeling about AppLovin these days? Is that still performing for you?
So I think AppLovin has been solid. Like it's gotten to the point where I can't push past a certain budget. Which, to be fair, it's been around for almost a year now for e-commerce brands, and the fact that I can still like somewhat spend consistently on it, given the brand that we are, given like the demographic, this and that, like I'm impressed, right? Like I can't spend on Snapchat. Snapchat's been around for decades. Like it's still a contender. I do think that there's certain brands and certain products that will perform better on that platform than others, just given where that consumer is in that moment. So it makes sense why some of these companies like Breeze is crushing on it. Obviously the gamers are gonna love the Breeze drinks, right? So I think it's very brand and product dependent. Scalability, I'm very curious to see where we end up in the next like year or so. But they're constantly making updates to the platform. So um, again, very impressed with what they've done so far, and I can only imagine what's going to happen in the coming months and years.
How much have you played with CTV so far?
So, great question. I mean, this is something that we've been toying around with where we're like, okay, do we use CTV as a general brand awareness play and have a CTA of our website and retail placements? Or do we test this out specifically for retailers and, get them the velocity pump over there? So it's still a very new space for us. I think the content we have is really good, but directing where that traffic should go is still like up in the air, and we're not entirely sure where to push people.
Got it.
But I'm curious. I'm curious what your thoughts are for a brand that is on D2C, that a brand is starting to launch into a ton of stores on the retail side and has an Amazon presence. What's the strategy here for CTV that brands should follow?
Yeah, look, I think trying to push CTV into your direct website is going to be really hard, right? I think you're going to feel disappointed on the metrics regardless of what happens. I think what you should feel is geographic lift, which you can test on in both retail and Amazon, right? I think that to me is probably the safest way for you to start to build confidence. Look, we're all tight on budget, right? As ecom operators, we can't just be like, let's go do a nationwide campaign and light it up. But I think you can be very focused and be disciplined and do a GeoLift test with CTV. And I think I mean, for us, we offer our audiences through channels like the Trade Desk now, for example, for CTV. So if you are doing CTV, whether it's on Tatari or Mountain, wherever you're doing it, there's ways to actually leverage better targeting. Because, by the way, one of the things that CTV sucks on is targeting, because a lot of CTV just has very limited understanding of like who the profile is, right? Meta, they know everything you like, everything you click on, everyone you follow. CTV just knows that like you logged in with this email and like,
Yeah.
watch a couple of these shows. And by the way, half your family's probably watching those shows with you too, and they're just confused, right? They don't know exactly what to show you or what not to show you. So
Hmm.
that's actually a reason why we've leaned in heavily in CTV, just because we're trying to provide more data intelligence and signal where we find the least confidence and least precision. So that's definitely an opportunity. But if I'm a brand that's now legging into CTV, I would first be smart and take calculated budgets and spend in areas that probably you want to help lift anyway from a retail standpoint. We all know, we get these reports, right? If you have a retail footprint, you'll see where you're having weak monthly numbers, and you can try to boost there. And if you try to
Hmm.
boost there, you can also, if you have your Amazon settings up correctly, you can also look at where your purchases are by zip code, right? Or by geography. So you can start to see the lift on both sides. And if you feel like, okay, on a dollar for dollar basis, that spend was worthwhile and that now it's increasing my likelihood for a higher repurchase order on the retail side, and I'm seeing direct results on the Amazon side, that's good enough. If you even also feel like you see a lift in your customer data on the direct side, wow, you're crushing it. But I just don't think from an expectation management standpoint, that's reasonable.
Yeah. No, it makes a ton of sense. Um, in terms of what Proxima has been doing, I know there's been some chatter around you guys having a new programmatic product. I guess give us some background on that and how that can kind of tie into what brands could be testing, next to CTV as well.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Ash. I think our programmatic product is literally our same product that we used for Meta, TikTok, and Google, but for programmatic platforms, right? And that whether you're trying to improve your uh, CTV performance, trying to promote better display, effectively anywhere that you are currently spending beyond the walled gardens, we can leverage that same audience insights and performance to improve your actual incremental lift. The other exciting part around it is the fact that in these programmatic channels, you actually see one-to-one results, meaning I know if someone saw an ad with this email address. In Meta or on TikTok, I don't, right? I have this kind of more ambiguous feeling directionally whether or not the targeting is working or not. Here, truly, like I know if Ash saw this ad or he experienced this CTV placement, whatever that is. So that one-to-one relationship improves dramatically the feedback loop for our AI to provide improved performance. The area I'm actually even more excited by right now is our new data agent that we're building. So what we mean by that is every e-commerce business has a bunch of data, right? Whether it's their Shopify data, their metadata, their Klaviyo, retention, engagement data. What we've done is we've created the pipeline to make it really easy for you to use LLMs, in this case, OpenAI's ChatGPT, against your data. So that's actually our newest product, which I know, Ash, I think we signed you up for a Friday preview of this in the very near future. But that's actually the thing that we are most excited by. We recently hired a former product leader from Google Brain. She was also building agentic marketing AI for MailChimp, as well as she was one of the product leads that built Shopify audiences. So she's now our head of product. She's an amazing AI leader. You're going to get to meet her on Friday. But one of the things we're super excited about is actually creating a product that is less just performance-based, but more empowerment-based, right? Think about all the things that you've been able to do using LLMs in your ecom workflow, right? Whether that's reviewing customer responses and reviews, improving your customer support and efficiency. There's a world of opportunity of insights that today you'd probably love to comb through in your Meta performance, your Google performance, your TikTok performance, and just your aggregate world of data. So this truly is like having a 24/7 data analyst at your fingertips. So we're calling it a Proxima data agent. And I think that's really going to be a game changer for a lot of our clients that are looking to find incremental performance through better decision making.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing. I've been honestly like toying around. Obviously, we use AI every day and like ChatGPT every day just for daily tasks. But when I try to like feed it my first party data, right? Like my post-purchase surveys, my reviews, my ad comments, and like trying to get some creative strategy to form on AI. Like I feel like I keep falling short, and whatever I get out of it is like super generic. Is this is what Proxima is building a solution to this? Like, are you guys able to connect directly into my brand and just like help me figure my shit out?
That's exactly it. Part of the look, we're all pretty adept at leveraging AI prompts at this point. But one thing, unfortunately, I'm not good at because I'm not an engineer is actually create the pipeline so that the data I want to analyze gets in to the ChatGPT interface in a properly structured, clean form so I can get accurate data out of it, right? And that's just hard. Like we're as ecom operators, I mean, we barely have enough developer resources to like update all the landing pages we want to, let alone build this entire data pipeline so we can ask questions that we are curious about, but it's honestly like those questions that you probably have, your marketing analyst like do for you, and then you ask them to do it one time, you get kind of the answer you want, but then it was so heavy of a lift, you're like embarrassed to ask them again because they hated it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that shit happens all the time. But imagine you as a growth and marketing leader who is in charge of millions and millions of dollars of budget. You should be able to ask those questions as often as you freaking want, right? So
yeah.
you should think about this as like the first stage, the first phase of this feature set is let's make it really easy for you to get all the data you wish you could ask questions about into ChatGPT smoothly and accurately so you just hammer away at it. The second layer where we're going to start to add some really exciting things is then bring in the power of our aggregate data network to then give you benchmarks and recommendations. Like, okay, here's what the top 20th percentile is doing differently than you. We'll never specifically say this brand is doing this versus that, right? We want to keep things anonymized, keep the integrity. But having that perspective then gives you the ability to get insightful recommendations and then gives you new ideas around what to do. And then the third phase, which is where a lot of people are doing a lot of smoke and mirrors right now around like, marketing agents, is we actually execute it for you. And in order to get there, you obviously need to really trust the recommendations and then implement the execution all the way through successfully. We're not pushing to do that today. We just want to be really insightful thought partners that give you better decision making, first through just a clean look at your existing data, and then secondly, really focusing on recommendations that are benchmark backed, right? Don't just take our word for it. Actually, let's see how you stack up against other businesses of similar size, of similar revenue, of similar spend in your category with similar average order value. And then look at the best practices and recommendations that come from there. And then down the road, I would say in the next 18 months, we start to do more of the agentic, we do it for you. But it's got to be a kind of a crawl, walk, run approach, because if we tell you to trust us on day one to just do it for you, no freaking way. You're like, this is too critical of a time to just hand over the keys to like some AI robot that's hopefully going to make my life better, right? But as you build trust and you see that the recommendations are good, that benchmarking is giving you better decision making, and then you start to give small pieces of execution that save you time, give you costs back, hopefully do a lot of the hands-on keys work for you. Okay, now that becomes really sexy.
Yeah. See, Alex, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, there's so much of this that's coming out here, and it's like I feel like it's just making AI feel like overhyped now. It's like, okay, I can plug in my Shopify to this AI and it'll pump out whatever information that I need. Like, I don't. And again, it goes back to my experience with like ChatGPT of like me trying to do it myself and me just getting this generic ass answers. How do you think that this is actually going to be different and actually deliver real value for customers?
I think it's a very fair skepticism, especially as we see like our feeds on LinkedIn are getting flooded with like all these like hocus pocus snake oil type AI solutions. Look, our core differentiation is our existing data network, right? We have now over 80 million US based shoppers where we can see on a SKU level basis what they've purchased historically, right? And what that means is we can give much better insights. Clean data going into an AI model means better impactful outcomes, right? Real decision making comes from differentiated data. Everyone, including yourself, can go buy a large language model off the shelf, just like we can all pay for Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud. It's literally commoditized. It's just like, how much are you willing to pay? What differentiates things for us is that we started as a data intelligence platform. So when we provide a recommendation of this is what you should do, we are starting from not just saying, hey, this is what it is based on your data. This is actually looking at the best performers and the strategies and tactics that they're using, and then aggregating that insight and bringing it to your doorstep. I think that's really important. And the other thing I would tell you is, this is my personal view, why I'm also more confident in our approach is I'm not offering to just do it for you in this black box manner. I actually don't
Right.
want to do it for you right away. I rather recommend what should be done, not
Right.
promise you that you're going to be like sitting on your couch drinking, coffee and tea while like money is just spewing into your bank account, right? Like
Yeah.
you've seen those ads. That's just not the reality of where we are today. And that for me is also the discipline of building trust and affinity with like the real brand operators, right? Because while the little or smaller mom and pop types are like, oh my God, it's amazing. I can, make money by letting AI do everything for me and then I just get to chill and then still make a bunch of money. Like it's a pipe dream, guys. Like we know it is. It's clickbaity stuff. It gets people talking and gets a lot of impressions, but the real OGs in the game, like yourself, like they know what it really takes. And I'm
Hmm.
sorry, it's even the world of AI, like getting the real great outcomes still takes good old fashioned hard work.
Yeah. No, I love that. I was gonna say, I mean, before we wrap up here, but obviously there's a ton of shit that's coming out for AI, right? And like platforms and products and this and that. What's like the one surefire thing to keep an eye out for if something is BS or valuable? If you had to pick
I
one.
I think anytime someone promises you money without more time invested up front to learn how to make that money, it's a sham, right? For me, right, like I do believe AI will make you more efficient. It'll make you more productive. It'll unlock a lot of things for us that are harder to see today, just from the time and analysis that it takes, and just there is huge value to be created by AI. But I think the people that are just selling you on like, don't worry, click a couple buttons, set this up, pay us money, and then your life will be like better than it's ever been before. I mean, geez, I have a Nigerian prince on the phone that would like to offer you a piece of his oil rig off the coast of
Yeah.
Lagos. I have a Nigerian prince ready to sell you a piece of his oil stake. No, look, I think that's a big signal that like this doesn't work, right? This is actually not going to be what you think it is. Um, One additional element that I would say is look at who's actually speaking up for the brand. If it's real operators that you know are like doing really good work in sizable companies, more power to you. If it's more, and again, I like a lot of these guys personally, but I just think some of them are kind of touting um, they're touting products that aren't really game changing for them. They're just excited about them, right? They're just kind of like it's the Twitter chatter or the X chatter, right? It's like people that are getting hyped about being hyped. Once you see a lot of those people congregating around something, I think you got to, as a smart, disciplined professional, just raise the bullshit meter up a little bit. Make sure you know what you're stepping into. And then finally, the other thing I would say is don't ever test these things on your actual business right off the bat without doing some real diligence,
Hmm.
right? Like look and understand a prototype first. Look at some sample product iterations. Like don't just go and plug all this shit in and then hope that it works. Like do the demo, do your diligence, right? Like actually go through the process. Some of them might actually do some cool things, might save some time for you, might actually add some value, but just be thoughtful around before you get into this like, I'm going to take the leap of faith type mentality. You got to do the hard work because again, nothing. Here's a little proverb I like, Ash. Do you know the only place in the world where success comes before work?
Yeah. I don't know, Alex. Tell me.
In the dictionary.
Bang.
There you go.
Love it.
Um, Ash, what else should we cover?
I think, I mean, listen, I think for the rest of the year, I mean, there's going to be a few challenges, right, that we have to kind of oversee, which is, right, the summertime, people are saving money. They're obviously going to spend it on the holidays and vacationing, and right after the summer, I would imagine they're going to start thinking about Q4, right? So, I guess my one of my last questions for you is like, if Q4 is going to be strong, how can brands be prepared and what can they do to get prepared for Q4 starting now?
I think you gotta be really on top of all of your core execution starting now, right? Like, do not wait. Like, the people that really thrive in Q4 are the ones that effectively don't take long summer breaks, right? They work hard through the quote unquote easier months, and they really set themselves up in Q3 for a successful Q4. I think Q3 is actually a great moment to test, right? If you're looking for something that's going to deliver you a bit more incremental performance, give you a little bit more scale, a bit more profitability, like this is the time to test those things. And there's a bunch of great tools out there, Proxima included. Like now's the time to test. If there's a free test that's lower maintenance, lower cost, I think this is a great moment because again, you're setting yourself up for your Super Bowl. And if you can test these things and find opportunities to increase incremental value, pick up all the pieces that you can gain as much as you can, as quickly as you can, when the stakes are a bit lower. So that's my recommendation of how you set yourself up for a really great Q4. And also, fingers crossed, we see the economy sustain. I think sentiment is ultimately really important. That obviously we have less control of, but really just making sure that your core channels are humming and that you're starting to do the testing now at the beginning of Q3 so that you're ready to rock once Q4 comes along.
Love that. Love that. Last thing, Alex, very, very curious because obviously the AI stuff that you guys are doing is very, very impressive. For listeners and viewers, what is the best way to get more information about that if they wanted to check it out?
Sure thing. If you go to our website, we actually have created a form at proxima.ai that you can actually submit to be part of the beta users, which will start to kind of open up to people in the next coming weeks. Otherwise, look, I'm always happy to spend that time directly with your audience, Alex at proxima.ai. Love hearing from marketers that are engaged in the ecosystem, that are committed ecom operators, and that want to learn more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. I mean, this has been awesome, and for those who want to check out some of the cool stuff that Proxima is doing, definitely reach out to Alex. Um, we'll drop his email and the website somewhere. And thanks again, Alex. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, Ash. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.